Beautiful night for baseball in downtown Cincinnati and right along Joe Nuxall Way. It's Great American Ballpark, and we welcome you to the opening game of this 4-game series. The Marlins from Miami in town to take on the Cincinnati Reds, and a very intriguing night indeed. Hi again, everybody, alongside Chris Welsh. Nice to have him back in the booth. I'm Tom Brenneman. Welcome, as always, to Reds Baseball. We say intriguing tonight because we begin with the Red starter who's had unbelievable success last year and the beginning of this year, the left-hander Tony Cingrani.
Well, Tom, anytime you have a matchup of young pitchers the way we have tonight, it is something worth talking about. And Tony Cingrani has been the best pitcher in all the minor leagues. I mean, not just the Reds organization, but everywhere this year. It's just been incredible what he has done. 26 strikeouts, 14-plus innings. He gets it done with a very deceptive fastball. He also has some other pitches, too. A changeup and a breaking ball that is improving all the time. He's taken the place of Johnny Cueto, and the hopes are that he will pitch like Johnny Cueto. Meanwhile, Jose Fernandez, 20 years old, and he is the definition of a phenom. He's got a fastball that he works around 92, 93. He can throw it in the high 90s. He's got a plus breaking ball. He's got a plus changeup. He's got great composure on the mound, great control. They rushed him out to the major leagues this year. He's never pitched it higher than A ball before, but the Marlins brass thought he was ready, and so far he has shown them exactly the reasons why.
Yeah, so far so good. 2 major league starts and an ERA of under 1. So this ought to be a good one to watch. Hang around with us for a while. The Reds and the Marlins getting together, and the Reds, well, their offense finally cranked it up. The Marlins, they're still fishing for the Big O.
Authority of the Cincinnati Reds. It may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form, and the accounts and descriptions of this game may not be disseminated without the express written consent of the Cincinnati Reds.
Little bit windy right now. It's been a beautiful day, but what about the rest of the night? Our weather is brought to you by Eric Dieter's attorney-at-law, and here's our buddy Tim Hedrick.
Looks like a nice night for the ballpark. I think the thunderstorms stay out of the area until around midnight or thereafter, and temperatures very pleasant. So let's give him some hits, huh? Let's get some hits for Tony Cingrani. Mamma mia! Enjoy the game on Fox Sports Ohio.
That's good stuff, Timmy. He's on top of his game. The Marlins, what a difference a year makes, Chris. They opened that new ballpark. They brought in a bunch of big-name players, and most of them now long gone.
Well, that's what happens when you lose a lot of games and you don't stay in contention. They changed managers in the middle of the year last year, and then in the offseason, they traded 11 players away. And these are all household names, or at least baseball names that you may recognize. And to all different places. Of course, the big trade they had was with the Toronto Blue Jays. You see 5 players going. And really what the Marlins got in return was a lot of young players, minor league, top shelf, minor league prospects that they hope to develop into big leaguers in the next few years. Meanwhile, the fans in Miami are not happy about the state of offense there that the Marlins are showing this year. And this is what you're looking at. They're last in batting average. They're last in home runs. In fact, they just hit their first home run at home the other night. They're last in runs batted in, and they're only averaging 2.1 runs per game. So, yeah, they're looking for offense, no doubt about it. And right now, if they're fishing for it, well, the fish ain't biting.
Well, the Reds had it rolling here yesterday, getting a pair of wins, and got 11 runs in the nightcap in a victory over Philadelphia. Can the hot bats continue into tonight? By the Ford F-Series trucks, a best-selling truck in America 36 straight years. By Cincinnati USA Regional Tourism Network, book your stay at CincinnatiUSA.com. And by Skyline Chili, feeling good, it's Skyline time. Well, another very small crowd here at Great American Ballpark for the opening game on this Thursday night. Marlins in town for 4. And their first-year manager, a former player for the Marlins, was there from 1998 through 2004. Primarily spent most of his career as a backup catcher, Mike Redmond.
Well, Mike Redmond's got a challenge on his hand. There's no doubt about it. You always wonder why some guys would take certain managerial jobs. Well, if it comes around and you get offered it, you may be foolish not to take an opportunity. He'll be coaching, teaching, and trying to nurture young players this year to kind of find their way through the National League East. And of course, you've got some very fine ball clubs in that division, and it's not going to be easy for Mike Redmond. He knows that, but I think at the same time, he cherishes the opportunity to be a major league manager.
Well, they've only won 3 of their first 15 games, and due to the Red Sox start of the Atlanta Braves are already 9.5 games out of first. Their lineup: Chris Coghlan in left, Chris Valaika, the former Red, at short. Giancarlo Stanton, their big slugger, back in a lineup, has missed a week with a bad shoulder. Polanco, Dobbs, Ruggiano in the middle. Brantley, Solano, and the highly touted former #1 pick just 2 years ago out of Tampa, a Cuban defector, Jose Fernandez. Meanwhile, taken in that same draft but out of college in the 3rd round is Reds left-hander Tony Cingrani, who makes his first major league start here tonight.
Well, those that had an idea of seeing Tony Cingrani last year when he got his feet wet up here in 5 games for the Reds, he really impressed a lot of people. And what you're looking at with Cingrani is a fastball that sits anywhere from 90 to 92, but he can throw it as hard as 94. And interestingly enough, even though he doesn't have that upper echelon fastball of 97, 98, he still strikes out most of his batters with the fastball. He's got a solid changeup. That's always been his best #2 pitch, and his curveball is improving. Now, he calls it a slider still, but we'll decide tonight based on the speed whether it really is a curve or a slider. He's excited, taking the place of Johnny Cueto, and the Reds have high hopes for this young left-hander.
They sure do. Let's take a look at the defense behind Cingrani tonight, presented by your Ford dealer. Xavier Paul, the start in left. Shin-Soo Choo had the second game off last night. Back in there tonight, Jay Bruce in right. Regular infield, we've seen him virtually every game, and a battery of Cingrani and Devin Mesoraco coming off a nice game yesterday. Had 2 hits, both of them doubles, knocked in a run and scored a pair of runs. Paul getting his second start on his homestand, and Mesoraco his second straight start for Ryan Hannigan. Cingrani, a big deep breath, looking in, gets a sign from Mesoraco and cuts it loose, and a fastball is low and away. Ball 1, this one underway. Well, Coghlan falling right in line. We showed you some of the woeful offensive numbers of this Marlins team, and Coghlan just 3 out of 27 to begin the year. Cingrani entered this season rated as the Reds' 3rd best prospect, behind Billy Hamilton and right-hander Robert Stevenson. Stevenson was taken in the same draft as Cingrani. Reds got him in the 1st round. A year ago, he was the minor league pitcher of the year in the Reds organization and had the lowest ERA among all minor league pitchers that had enough innings to qualify. That's just not in the Reds organization. That's in all of minor league baseball.
He was by far the most major league ready minor leaguer that we saw in camp this year. I mean, of the young guys coming through the organization, Robert Stevenson, you mentioned, #1 right there with Billy Hamilton, but he's a guy much lower in the minor leagues. He's got a terrific arm and a great upside, but just not major league ready.
Base hit down the left field line by Coghlan. Heisey over to cut it off, and Coghlan will be held, or Paul rather, holds him to a leadoff single.
Just a little slashing stroke right here. That's a good stroke if you're a leadoff hitter. A lefty on lefty. The way Coghlan is facing Cingrani, you're just trying to make contact, hit the ball the other way, and he slices it right past Todd Frazier.
Now Chris Valaika. Originally, of course, came up through the Cincinnati Reds organization. 12 to first inning. Coghlan back to the bag. Made his major league debut for the Reds back on April the 7th against the New York Mets. In 2011, I beg your pardon, that was in Colorado. Appeared in 33 games with the Reds, up and down over 2010 and 2011. Has a major league home run and 2 runs batted in. Certainly worth noting that with Cingrani, a southpaw, getting the ball here tonight. He is the Reds' first left-handed pitcher to start a game since Dontrell Willis back on September the 29th, 2011, when Dontrell beat the Pittsburgh Pirates in Pittsburgh 5-4. Straight up in the air, playable for Brandon Phillips, and that's out number 1. Well, it really is kind of funny sometimes. The Reds' franchise record for consecutive starts made by a right-hander, 180. Well, here they are on another streak, 180. If they went one more day, they would have set a franchise record, and it just so happens to be the day Cingrani is plugged in the rotation for Johnny Cueto.
Amazing bit of information you came up with right there, Tom.
I had nothing to do with coming up with it.
I wonder if they took that into consideration. They said, no, we'd like to see that record stand for right now. So we're bringing up the left-hander.
We'll just tie the record.
Left-handers just, I mean, Cingrani's essentially busted the door down to get up here.
Yes, he has. And that one lined into shallow center field. That'll fall in for a base hit. Giancarlo Stanton, their big slugger, and arguably the best power hitter in the National League. He had 37 last year, but he missed over a month. Still finished second in the league to Ryan Braun's 41. He's been bothered by a shoulder injury, and tonight his first game back in the lineup in a week.
Well, he's got power that is off the charts, and obviously when he's not in the lineup, the Marlins don't have anywhere near the kind of power they have when he is in the lineup. I mean, watching this guy take batting practice is almost like watching Mark McGwire. I mean, that's where he hits the ball. But he's back just in time for this series, something that the Reds weren't hoping for, but he's a fun player to watch.
So now this Marlin team averaging only 2 runs a game, virtually last in every major offensive category, have sent 3 batters to the plate. 2 of them have hits, and here's the one guy that has been hitting in their lineup, Placido Polanco. No home runs, but a .327 batter and 4 knocked in. Polanco generally a guy who will put the bat on the ball with more regularity than just about every hitter in the game. Extremely difficult to strike out. 1-1 on Polanco.
Well, he's been around a long time. Broke in with the St. Louis Cardinals back in 1998. He's been a solid major league hitter ever since. Signed here as a free agent back in December.
Chris, tonight is not Tony Cingrani's major league debut. There you see the toughest hitters among all active players to strike out, and only his teammate Juan Pierre has been more difficult to get on strikes. But for Cingrani, now back in the major leagues and making his first big league start, I would imagine those butterflies are lined up.
Yeah, they are, and nothing more important than getting out of your first inning. Retiring the first hitter is important. Didn't do that. But now he's got a couple of runners on, middle of the lineup up. I don't care who they are. You want to get out of this first inning to kind of get your groove a little bit. I mean, he's got such a nice, easy delivery, though. If you watch him pitch, he keeps his head perfectly still. And they talk about deception when they talk about facing Tony Cingrani. And if you watch his arm angle and his way his arm arc works, when he takes his ball out of his glove, he kind of extends his arm straight back. And that is a modification of what he did when he got to Rice. It was even more unusual than it was there, but he put some strain on his arm. So they've been able to change that a little bit in college. And he's come up with kind of an unusual arm swing, but deceptive and very effective.
In the air, Votto will give chase and run out of room over near the tarp.
Take a look at his arm action in slow motion. What I'm talking about is, right when he gets that arm back, it's a little bit more of a straight arm back than most guys do. He shows the hitter the ball a little bit from behind him when he drops his arm.
Cingrani grew up in the Midwest. Went to Lincoln Way Central High School in New Lenox, Illinois, and began his collegiate career at South Suburban College in South Holland, Illinois, before making his way to the baseball powerhouse Rice University. Two and two on Polanco. 2 on, 1 out. Struck him out. How about that? Just got finished telling you, Polanco among the toughest hitters in the game to get on strikes, and Cingrani able to do it.
The one thing that he has is that deception with a fastball. 93 is plenty firm enough, as you can tell, but he just simply throws it right by him. Polanco probably can't believe it. Look at him look back into the glove of Devin Mesoraco thinking, did I really miss that?
They have the left-handed batting first baseman Greg Dobbs.
So Dobbs has been a solid fill-in player for years. Had a couple of really good years and runs with the Philadelphia Phillies, but he's always been a backup. Forcing everyday action here. That everyday first baseman penciled at the beginning of the year was Casey Kochman. He's on the disabled list.
Of course, they're waiting on Logan Morrison to come back from that knee injury. They knew he would begin the year on the disabled list, and they hope to have him back by the middle of next month. At least that's a plan right now.
They also have Joe Mahoney, big slugging, kind of a minor league player for quite a while in the Orioles organization, on the bench.
Coughlin dancing around out there at second base, trying to distract Cingrani. 1 ball and 1 strike.
And he didn't move a bit. He didn't fall for it. Cingrani did, and that's what kind of the things that you're looking for of a young pitcher. Is he major league ready? It's one thing to have major league stuff. It's another thing to be able to mold that stuff into a pitcher that's on the mound during a major league game and not get distracted by what Coughlin was doing at second base. Not force yourself into a balk.
2 on, 2 out, 1 ball and 1 strike, and a fastball misses outside. A pair of singles in the inning. Coughlin to lead it off. A 1-out hit by Stanton. Cingrani to strike out of Polanco. And now has fallen behind the left-handed batting Dobbs at 2 balls and a strike. Great to have you with us on this Thursday night. Night game tomorrow night. 1:10 starts on Saturday and Sunday. And then the Chicago Cubs will round out the homestand, a 3-game set beginning Monday night. 2-1 pitch. High pop-up.
The wind may bring that back.
Why you never give up on it. That maybe started about 10 rows and ended about 2 rows.
Yeah, very windy night tonight. Watching batting practice, Tom. The wind coming down the river out of the west. I mean, it hits that open part of the air of the ballpark out in the outfield, and you couldn't hit a straight ball tonight. I mean, everything was really looking like one of your dad's 3-woods, and I mean, it was just hooking everywhere. And outfielders need to be aware of that, and also infielders when the ball goes up in foul territory. So I got that reference in the first inning.
Boy, I mean, a blast right from the bow, your first game back.
Well,
man,
he's due.
2 and 2 on Greg Dobbs. Fouled off again. I'm sure he'll hear about that, and I have a feeling then you will hear about it shortly thereafter.
Good to be back.
Good to have you back. Well, now Cingrani trying to put Dobbs away and keep it a scoreless opening inning, and this is his first major league start. Once more the break-even pitch. And a one-hopper. Cozart able to handle it. Nice play there by Cozart, and that'll end the inning. Couple of hits, a couple of men left. Reds are coming up. Phillies on the heels of a 5-game losing streak. Take a look at the lineup tonight. Chu leads off in center field. It'll be Zach Cozart at short and Joey Votto at first base. Brandon Phillips, Jay Bruce, Todd Frazier the middle third. Latter third, Xavier Paul, Devin Mesoraco, and Tony Cingrani. And we are excited to see this young man for the first time as well. 20-year-old right-hander, a Cuban defector as a teenager, Jose Fernandez.
Well, what you're looking at with Jose Fernandez is #1 stuff. 3+ major league pitches. His fastball sits at 90. He can get it up in the high 90s. Got great secondary pitches, change up and slider, and he's a little flamboyant. He'll show you some colorful character on the mound, but not the kind of stuff that would irritate or infuriate the opposition. I think he's got great respect for the game and a great arm.
Shin-Soo Choo had the night off last night. He has reached base safely in every Reds game which he has played, and that's all but last night. 14 games, .333 average, 3 home runs, 7 batted in. Fouled off out of play, and those first 2 fastballs from Fernandez at 95 miles per hour. His story is just an amazing story. Tried 3 times to defect from Cuba with his mother, starting at the age of 13. Spent time in jail twice after failing to reach the United States of America. The 3rd time he made it successfully to the country of Mexico. And as the legend and as the story goes, and he speaks very good English, eventually after getting to Mexico and into the United States, grew up in Tampa, went to high school there. And he strikes out Chu to begin the game.
At 97. And that's a nice, easy delivery. You know, when you're a 20-year-old in the major leagues with the kind of stuff that Jose Fernandez has, there's all sorts of comparisons being made. I mean, he's the next Doc Gooden. He's the next Felix Hernandez. But I mean, that is just a sizzling fastball. He went down to the minor leagues last year. He had never pitched above A ball, and he just dominated. So they looked at him this year, and they had already sent him down to AA, actually, and they were going to say, all right, that's where you're going to start. He went down and pitched in the minor leagues in 1 AA ball game, and they asked him how he did. And when he went back to the big league camp, he goes, oh, I did okay. I pitched 4 innings and struck out 9. So they said, well, with the injuries that they had at the top shelf here in the major leagues, they decided that Hernandez was one of the best 5 pitchers they had in the organization, and that's why he's starting right now. There's his minor league numbers overall. Only 27 times has he pitched for money as a pro. 14-2, and look at the strikeouts, 165 strikeouts.
Back to the mound, and he'll throw out Cozart and quickly 2 away. Take a look at the Marlins defensively, brought to you by Ford dealers. Ruggiano flanked by Coughlin and Stanton in the outfield. Polanco, Valleca, Donovan Solano, and Greg Dobbs along the infield. Fernandez and another youngster behind the plate, Rob Brantley. Valleca spent a lot of time in the Reds minor league system as a shortstop, then played third, played some second base, and now after an injury to their regular shortstop just yesterday, Valleca will get significant playing time at shortstop starting tonight. Danny Hechavarria went on the disabled list. He's their regular shortstop. They like his future very much, but he hurt his elbow, so he went on the DL today. 2-0 to Joey Votto. 3-0.
Joey Votto already in 2-strike mode. You can see him choking up on the bat a little bit. You don't see that happen with Joey Votto very often until he gets 2 strikes on him. And I think that's out of respect for the fastball that Hernandez has.
4-pitch walk to Votto. You know, we told you, briefly about that story of trying to defect. You got to remember now, when Fernandez tried to do it the first time as a 13-year-old, they put him in jail for about a month. Well, naturally, you try to do that in Cuba, and all of a sudden nobody wants to be around you anymore. Your friends don't know you. Your family bears you know you. His dad had already defected to Cuba. He was there with his mom and his sibling, and he basically was out of school from the time he was 13 till he was 16 before he finally was successful in getting out.
They shut down his schooling and they shut down his baseball.
I mean, you talk about perseverance, and we hear so many great stories here in the United States of America, but no matter how bad it gets here, we're not putting 13-year-olds in jail for trying to leave the country. So what this man has been able to do, and they asked him before his first major league start against the Mets in New York and facing David Wright. So well, are you nervous? Or you looked at him and said, come on, am I nervous?
I was nervous when they were shooting at me.
Yeah, and that's when he dove in the ocean and saved his mom, who had fallen out of the boat. It's just an amazing journey for this young man. And good for him and his family. 1-1 to Brandon Phillips. How good has this guy been? .345 batting average, tied for the major league lead with 19 runs batted in. Over the last 2 weeks, Brandon Phillips has 9 games in which he has 2 or more hits. That's out of the 13 in which he has played. Of course, he's been in that cleanup spot ever since Ryan Ludwig got hurt on opening day. And there's a roll to short. Baleka plays to first. And the tag made to end the inning. So a walk, a man left. We played 1, no score. Storyline brought to you by Elk & Elk, serious lawyers for serious injuries. Call 1-800-ELK Ohio. The Red Starters, Chris, finally starting to put together some good outings.
Well, it's exactly what this team is built around. Good starting pitching and good defense. And, you know, when your starting pitching does this through the last 5 times out, you know, once through their order. Of course, Johnny Cueto was involved in part of that. Mike Leake, an excellent outing last night. Homer Bailey, wow, was he powerful the other night on his trip against the Philadelphia Phillies. And they've got it together. I mean, this is a rotation that there are really no weak links right now.
Of course, Cingrani stepping in for the ace of this rotation, Johnny Cueto, a 19-game winner a season ago. Cingrani allowed a couple of hits in the first inning, but got out of a 2-on, 1-out jam. And now Ruggiano, Brantley, Solano in the Miami Marlins second inning. Straight up in the air, behind the plate, and out of play. This time a year ago, the Marlins were the buzz of all the baseball world. They had a brand new shiny stadium down there in Little Havana outside of Miami Beach. Payroll upward of $100 million. They brought in some great stars. Had a new manager in Ozzie Guillen. And things went south basically right from the start. They wound up finishing in dead last in the National League East. They won only 69 games. They were banking on drawing somewhere 2 million plus. They drew 1.3 million fans. And the owner, Jeffrey Loria, for the second time under his ownership, completely gutted the entire team.
Now, the difference between this time and previous times is that you said, Tom, they had a $101 million payroll in 2012. And all it did was get them last place. So he said, if we're going to lose cheaper than we did in 2012. And they pared that down by just about $50 million. A lot of people around the baseball world, especially in the Miami area, are perturbed that Miami built them a new stadium. They gave them just about all the concessions that the Marlins wanted. The ball club has been valued by Forbes as of March of this year at over $500 million. But they've gutted it and not spending the kind of money that fans want them to spend to be competitive. And Loria's answer to that is, well, we got to rebuild here. We're going to break it down to scratch and start all over again.
Yeah, I mean, he put it about as simple as you can put it. He said, we're not breaking up the 1927 New York Yankees here. But having said that, you know, trust is at an all-time low. There can't be a more disliked public figure in all of South Florida than Loria right now. He claims the franchise lost upwards of $50 million a year ago. So here they are now once again in rebuild mode. 1-0 to Rob Brantley, one of the guys they're trying to build this thing around. That's a strike to even account.
Good looking young prospect. He was up last year a little bit. Brantley was a catcher. Played 30 plus games for them last year. Hit .290. Throw over to Ruggiano. There's only one player on this Marlins starting lineup tonight that has a stolen base, and he's at first. Ruggiano has 3 of them.
Everybody else had a hard time getting on base. 1-1 pitch, and it's off the outside corner. Brantley at 205, 3 runs batted in, and once more a throw will send Ruggiano back to the bag.
He's pushing the envelope. Cingrani is as far as a balk call. I think he's getting the attention of the umpires out there. Third base umpire Adrian Johnson has a good angle on him. So does the first base umpire Bill Welke. You have to step towards the bag. There is no such thing as a 45-degree line or anything like that. But it's their opinion whether you step to home or step to the bag.
High bouncer to the shortstop Cozart. His only play is to first. Ruggiano advancing on to second. 1 out in the inning. Donovan Solano started the final 43 games of the season for Miami a year ago and did very, very well over the last month and a half. Hit .327. In fact, over that time span, the last, well, nearly 2 months, he had more hits than any rookie in Major League Baseball, including Bryce Harper. So he's a guy they're plugging in there to be their second baseman for the long haul. Number 8 hole hitter with Fernandez due up next. Runner at second. Strike 1.
I'm a little surprised in this lineup tonight that we did not see Miguel Olivo. Good fastball hitter, right-handed hitter. And maybe it's just that they want Rob Brantley to work with the young pitcher Jose Fernandez. If those guys are going to be the stars of the future, let's get them paired up as much as possible.
0-1 now to Solano, and that one fought off out of play to the first base side on a breaking ball.
That's the one pitch that Cingrani is still developing. I can't say struggling with, because it's gotten better and better. In fact, in some of the opinions of scouts that have seen him pitch this year, they'll call his breaking ball better than his changeup. Now, his changeup has always been his best off-speed pitch. The young man wants to learn, a very hard worker, very likable young man.
And 2 to count on Solano. The runner breaks, falls down, but was able to recover in time before either Cozart or Brandon Phillips was able to get to the bag.
I don't know whether that was a fake, hoping that Cingrani would make an error, make a balk, or whether he was really trying to steal here with 1 out and an 0-2 count.
Struck him out on a high fastball at 93 miles per hour, and that's 2 of those tonight for Cingrani. Pitcher coming up right now on FoxSportsOhio.com. Check out Hal McCoy's feature on Todd Frazier. Byron Scott was fired today as Cavaliers coach. Plus, what will next week's draft bring for the Bengals? At FoxSportsOhio.com, it's brought to you by 1-800-SAFE-AUTO. Drive safe, spend less. Of course, the Bengals will be finding out their regular season schedule, we understand, later on tonight. That one fouled out of play by Fernandez, who by at least those that have seen him on a very limited basis. You say, well, the guy hadn't hit since high school. Well, high school was only a year and a half ago. 1 hit in his first 3 major league at bats with a run batted in and a pair of sacrifices.
That 1 hit that he had that drove a run in was the only run of the ball game in which one of the games that he's pitched. In fact, he was all set to get that win. The bullpen ended up blowing it and did not get the win in that game. But when you're the only guy to drive a run in, I want to pitch him tough.
0-2 Fernandez. Runner at second base, 2 are out. Scoreless game. We're in the second inning. And Cingrani going to work. Got him to chase a high fastball, and that's all in the Marlins second. Bruce Frazier, Paul coming up. No score. Great value this season. It's called the Kroger Meal Deal. Check concession stands throughout the ballpark. The Kroger Meal Deal includes a hot dog, a bag of Mission tortilla chips, a 16-ounce Coke, and during this homestand, a Slim Jim meat stick. Make sure to get your Kroger Meal Deal today. Get it all for $9. Tony Cingrani has allowed a couple of hits, 3 base runners, but most important of all, no runs through his first 2 innings of this, his first major league start. Jay Bruce to lead things off against Jose Fernandez. First pitch swinging straight up in the air behind the plate. Catcher has no idea where the ball is, and it doesn't matter. Nice play made by a gentleman down in the stands. Hit him in the chest, popped in the air, and then he brought it in. Beautifully done. It's a big league play there.
It was a nice play. He stayed with it.
That fella right there.
There he is right here.
Look at it. He rubbing that shoulder up. Yep.
He'll be able to ice it from the inside, and no problem.
No problem. When you start getting a little bit older, there are a lot of problems after you take a shot like that. All of us know it. Wow.
I'll tell you, this kid's got all the pitches right there. When you can go from 97 to 87 with exactly the same arm slot, exactly the same arm action, and sell that changeup like a fastball like he did to Jay Bruce. Boy, there's not much of a defense for that. Good night.
That went at 97 miles per hour on the outside corner to Bruce. Second strikeout already.
Yeah, the second strikeout that he got on the same pitch. He got Chu on that also at 97. But look at the location.
Well, that's one thing that Gary Matthews and some of the Philadelphia Phillies people were telling us yesterday about Fernandez is that, you know, not only are all the pitches there as far as the fastball, the breaking ball, the changeup, but the command of all of those pitches, especially the fastball on both sides of the plate.
Now watch his delivery. I mean, his delivery, his tempo is good. He doesn't pull his head away from his arm. He stays behind the baseball. Doesn't look like he's overthrowing. And even the follow through. Look how controlled his follow through is. He's not one of these guys that falls dramatically off towards first base, which is an indication of kind of overthrowing.
That's another interesting part of his past. Once he got into Tampa, there was another fellow who was a Cuban defector for many years prior. In fact, came over on the same boat of Kendrys Morales a long time ago. A gentleman named Orlando Chinea, who basically became Fernandez's full-time pitching coach. Now, Chinea had spent a lot of time over in Japan working in the Japanese professional league and brought that Eastern sort of philosophy on many different levels, not just physically and mentally, but all aspects of the game to Fernandez. The story goes that they get together 5 to 7 nights a week. There's a breaking ball for a strike from 6 to 9 o'clock every night. Chinea telling him, I'm not working with a bunch of spoiled kids. You either show up and work or let's forget about it. .96 on a swing and a miss, and that's 3 strikeouts through 6 batters.
And again, the strikeout pitch so far has been that running fastball, low and in. And that's usually a spot that Todd Frazier is able to put the bat on the ball. 96 is a whole different animal. I mean, I've always had a theory you can pitch above the hitting speed or below the hitting speed. It's hard to pitch above unless you have a talented arm, and this kid is able to do that.
Get ahead strike on Xavier Paul, 4 hits and 14 at bats. A home run. That, of course, was the pinch hit grand slam in that rout of the Nationals on the opening homestand of the year. Well, here we think Cingrani is so young, and he is. He's only 23. We're looking at Jose Fernandez, 20 years young. The Reds have not hit the ball out of the infield through the first 2 innings. We're scoreless at the end of 2.
So stay tuned for that. But right now, let's take a look at Tony Cingrani, a slow motion action of Cingrani, courtesy of our Performance Honda Exmo camera. And what I talked about earlier, part of his deception, his arm swing, is he shows the baseball right down here to the hitter. That's something that was even more dramatic when he was in college. He would swing that arm way back, and it caused his arm action to be very slow behind his body. But once they tightened that up a little bit, his fastball zipped up there, his control got better, and his deception better than ever.
Top of the order for the second time in this game against Cingrani, who's allowed 3 base runners, 2 hits in the first inning, one of them to Chris Coghlan, who bats leading off the third. And Tony appeared to lose his footing a little bit there, working on the mound a bit. 2-0 on Coghlan. You can see the uniform of Cingrani rippling in the wind. Very strong wind swirling around inside Great American Ballpark. 3-0. Coghlan taking all the way here on a 3-2 pitch, and it's a strike. Field and Culbreth working behind the plate. Bill Welke at first. Brian O'Nora at second. Adrian Johnson, the umpire, down at third. Coghlan thought that was outside for ball 4. That is a fair ball. Ricochets off the stands. And on his way to second, Bruce's throw not going to be in time. Coghlan runs very well. So Coghlan 3 hits all year long, and he's 2 for 2 in the first 2 at bats tonight.
Yeah, and the first time up, he hit the ball down the third baseline, right between the third baseman and the bag. And this time, it goes right over the first base bag. That kind of hitter is hard to defense. But that just about hit the bag. It goes down there, ricochets off that outcropping of stands, and Jay Bruce tries to throw on the run to get him. And Coughlin's got some wheels. They've got their leadoff runner at second. thought that there might be a bunt right there by Chris Valaika, because you've got Giancarlo Stanton. I mean, he's a legitimate hitter in this lineup, run producer in the on-deck circle, and then Polanco after him. So you would like to get that runner to third base if you can. Maybe they're going to give Valaika one swing and then put the bunt on this play.
Well, it would surprise Joey Votto if they put the bunt on.
Yeah, it would surprise Frazier too.
Yep. Now he's backing up. Breaking ball in. It's be almost one of those where Valaika, who's a pretty heads-up guy, at least the time we were around him.
Very heads-up guy.
Might take a look around, and I mean, if he's capable of pushing something to the right side, he could bunt his way on for a hit. One and one the count on Valaika, and that's in there, a breaking ball for a strike. A leadoff double by Coghlan here in the Marlins' third of a scoreless game. 3 hits in the game so far for Miami against Cingrani. And now the 1-2 pitch struck him out on a high fastball. Getting a number of these Marlins to chase fastballs up with 2 strikes in the count.
A big strikeout right there, because Chris Valaika's only responsibility is just trying to get the runner over to third base. That pitch around your eyes looks so good, so tough to get to.
So now Giancarlo Stanton, he had a blue single in the center field his first time up. Taken outside of the low, ball 1 to Stanton. Told you 37 home runs a year ago, second to Ryan Braun among all National Leaguers, despite undergoing knee surgery and missing over a month of the year. 93 home runs before even his 23rd birthday for Stanton. Only 5 other players in the history of baseball have ever done that. Names like Mel Lott, Eddie Matthews, Tony Conigliaro, Alex Rodriguez, and the great Frank Robinson as a Cincinnati Red. A pitch around there to Stanton. 4-pitch walk, second issue to the game by Cingrani. So now Tony will face Placido Polanco for the second time in this game with 2 runners on base. He struck him out back in the first inning.
Yeah, that's the pitch that if you lay off of it, it'll be called a ball. That's also the pitch to Cingrani. If you can tempt him at it, he's had a couple of strikeouts on that high fastball. He got Polanco his last time on a 2-2 fastball low.
Straight up in the air, infield fly rule in effect here. This will be the second out of the inning. Chris, I know a lot of our viewers out there understand the infield fly rule, but sometimes I think we say it and forget that a lot of people are just learning a little bit about baseball. Explain the infield fly rule.
The infield fly rule is a rule that applies when there's a runner first and second, or runner first and second and third, and less than 2 outs. Ball is popped up in the infield, and with a reasonable effort, an infielder can call it and make the play. The ball has to be a fair ball, it cannot be a foul ball, and it cannot be a bunted ball. And one other little, maybe lesser known fact about it is that if you're standing on a bag and the infield fly comes and hits you on the head, you are out. Being on a bag does not protect you, so you have to get out of the way of a a ball on the infield fly. Once you hear it as a runner, the umpires will sometimes say runners can proceed at their own risk or infield fly if fair. So there you have it.
I'll tell you what, I just learned something I didn't know about that hitting a base runner.
Yeah, if you get hit by a batted ball while you're standing on a base, the base is no protection. You can pass that on to your coach pitch team.
I will. They're practicing without me right now. We'll be ready to roll over the weekend. 2 on, 2 out. Here's Greg Dobbs. He bounced out to short, stranding 2 runners back in that opening inning. Hit the ball hard to the left side. Cozart had to go to his right.
That was a dandy play by Cozart. In fact, the only way you're going to get Dobbs is being able to go to second, because I don't think you would have been able to throw him out had there not been a runner on first, creating a force play. He's always been a real good contact hitter, good bench player, and pretty good hitter against left-handers, although he doesn't hit many home runs.
2-0 fastball in there, strike 2-1 to Dobbs. Well, these Marlins are making Cingrani work.
Yeah, look and notice the pitch count up here. 57 pitches now for Cingrani already. Here we just are in the 3rd inning.
Tony's trying to strand a pair of runners for the 2nd time tonight, and trying to do it for the 2nd time to end an inning against a man he faces right now in Dobbs. Two and two.
You know, Tom, you mentioned at the onset another kind of a meager crowd here at Great American Ballpark tonight. I got to tell you, maybe a lot of fans don't know anything about the new dynamic pricing that the Reds have put in order this year, but for this series against the Marlins, there are deeply discounted tickets available. I mean, you can come out and watch a game for a whole lot less money than you can later on in the year, say, a Cardinal game. And there are a lot of people here that took advantage of that. I think there are a lot of people at home that ought to get online and try to check it out, because it's an eye-opener when you see some of these ticket prices.
Well, you bring up a great point. I mean, this organization is doing so much and continues to do so much to try and make it affordable for anybody, whether you're a fan that could maybe only afford 1 game per year. That doesn't mean that the franchise doesn't want you here. Be thrilled to death to have you here.
I'll tell you what, and if you had known that there would be a pitching matchup like this, might be a good night to have come down.
And tickets are available through the weekend. It'll be a 7:10 game here tomorrow night. And don't forget, on Saturday and Sunday, both games will be at 1:10 in the afternoon. Saturday and Sunday. Marlins here for 4. 2-2 once more to Dobbs. Struck him out. 5 strikeouts in a game for Cingrani. He stranded 5 runners through the first 3. That means it's a fireworks Friday night. And one of the ticket packages Chris alluded to is a 4 for $48 offer. 4 view level tickets, $48. Stick around for the post-game fireworks presented by Coca-Cola. For tickets to tomorrow night's game or any game, 513-381-REDS or log on to Reds.com/tickets. Very, very impressive. Jose Fernandez takes the mound. He'll be facing Devin Mesoraco, Tony Cingrani, and Shin-Soo Choo. Scoreless game, last of the third. Marlins have had numerous chances. In fact, they've had a runner in scoring position in each of the first 3 innings. But Cingrani has gotten it done, twice facing 2 on, 1 out, and twice retiring the number 4 and 5 batters in the Miami lineup. 2 end innings. That ball hammered by Mesoraco.
Boy, you talk about quick wrists. I mean, he turns on that fastball, figuring a 2-0 count. He's getting a piece of cheese right down Broadway. It comes, and he just jumps all over it, just a hair fast.
You know, you and I talk all the time about 2-0 counts, 3-1 counts, and a guy being ready to hit. That's a 2-0 hack.
Well, if you remember on a previous at-bat, Todd Frazier, 3-1 count, he dropped a real nice curveball on it. But he guessed right that time. Mesoraco did, and just got out in front of it a little bit. But yeah, you're right. I mean, you don't want to stand up there in a hitter's count and take a defensive swing. You know, be satisfied with a little looper over the second baseman's head when you're a big, strong guy like Mesoraco who can drive a ball out of here.
Well, he had a pair of doubles in the game last night. Beat with a fastball there at 96, up and away from it. Solano puts a glove on it, 1 out. The only Reds base runner was a 2-out, 4-pitch walk to Joey Votto in the opening inning. And now it'll be Cingrani. The Milwaukee Brewers earlier today finished off a 3-game sweep over the defending world champion San Francisco Giants. Boy, they took it to that Giants pitching staff in 2 of the 3 games, just lighting them up. There's a bouncer to the glove side of Polanco. 2 are out. Milwaukee winning today 7-2. Well, for Red, it's a home run off that Toyota sign during our game tonight. John Underhill of Cincinnati will win the Tundra. On display here at Great American Ballpark. And why not register for your chance to win it? Just stop by your Cincinnati and Northern Kentucky Toyota dealer. Good luck, John Underhill. Choo struck out swinging, leading off the first. Ready this time on a fastball and shoots it into left center. So every game that Choo has played in as a Cincinnati Red, he has reached base. That's their first hit tonight.
I was talking to Choo before the ball game down around the batting cage, and I said, you know, you make it look so simple. Your approach is very clean. You get the bat to the hitting zone right now, and look how clean and easy that swing is. There's not a lot of extra movement. There's not a lot of loading up of his hands where he moves his head or he moves his arms too much. And he says that's the adjustment that he tried to make. He had long conversations this spring with the batting coach, Brooke Jacoby, and that's been his goal, and it's really paid off.
So now Zach Cozart. Breaking ball in the first pitch and air strike. Cozart's been swinging a hot bat. Hey, speaking of Red shortstops, D.D. Gregorius, who was part of that Shin-Soo Choo 3-team deal. Gregorius, going to the Arizona Diamondbacks, began the year on the disabled list. The first pitch he saw as a Diamondback in their lineup for the first time tonight, he hit a home run at Yankee Stadium. Wow. Base hit into right field by Cozart, and going first to third is Choo.
Cozart kind of gets fooled on that pitch a little bit, but he's just going to stay with it and find a hole on the right side. Sometimes you don't have to hit it hard, you just have to hit it where they ain't. Chu hustles the third, so now with Joey Votto coming up, Reds have their first and best scoring opportunity. It's almost like Zach is down there apologizing for that.
Don't ever apologize for a hit. Too hard to come by.
Harder for some than others.
They've been tough to come by for Joey Votto. Fastball outside, ball one. Of course, Votto 23 walks now to lead by light years, more than any other major league player. But only 3 extra base hits and just 3 runs batted in.
Yeah, well, he knows his production is down from that standpoint. Still, though, if you look at his overall numbers of not making outs, he's still one of the best in the league. We talked about OPS when we were in St. Louis. On base percentage by slugging. His on base percentage is still very high. But until somebody behind him in the lineup becomes another enforcer, what causes a pitcher on the other team to go ahead and challenge Joey Votto?
Brandon Phillips on a pretty good run right now.
Well, he is.
Major league leader in RBIs. I mean, he's been pretty good.
And that's one of the reasons why, is because he's had Votto on base.
All the way to the screen, and Chu going to take a chance. And he slides, and the ball is jarred loose. They would have had him in the plate. Fernandez caught the ball and laid the glove down on the ground. Chu slid into it, but kicked the ball out. And a wild pitch gives the Reds a 1-0 lead.
Well, it was so wild that it hit the brick area behind home plate and came right back to the catcher, Rob Brantley. Now, Brantley probably could have taken it himself and dove in there, but if Fernandez comes in a little bit late, he's not sure what's going to happen. He slips, and I don't think he ever had control of the baseball.
Nope. So Chu with a 2-out single goes to third on a base hit into right field by Cozart, and a wild pitch plates the game's first and only run. Votto never leaving the batter's box. Joey with a count of 2-1. Ball 3. Votto draws a walk. So now Brandon Phillips. He grounded out to Valleca, the shortstop, ending the first inning.
It just looks like Jose Fernandez is nibbling a little bit, maybe afraid to make pitches down the middle of the plate to the middle of the order. He pitched Joey Votto very carefully 2 times up. It's amazing that a kid that throws the ball as hard as he does with his other stuff doesn't have a little more confidence in just attacking the hitter.
Well, that was attack mode there. Chris Davis of Baltimore, Prince Fielder of the Detroit Tigers, John Buck of the New York Mets, and Brandon Phillips. That quartet, the only 4 players in baseball with 19 runs batted in. And Phillips trying to break that tie right here and right now. 2 on, 2 out, 1 ball, 1 strike. Had a good rip, but fouled it back.
Yeah,
98.
Brandon's a good low ball hitter, and it's easier for a hitter, especially a low ball hitter, to get that in a low fastball than it is that high fastball, as is evidenced by Tony Cingrani kind of running it up the ladder and getting a lot of strikeouts against the Marlins here. This is the pitch that Brandon has to be aware of, try to lay off, is if Fernandez decides to run it up the ladder.
Well, he shook off Brantley on the first sign, and now the 1-2 coming to Phillips. Well, he just wants to throw Phillips gas. That was a little higher in the strike zone.
Yeah, they had him in a situation like this his last time up and threw him a slider, and Brandon got out ahead of it and kind of weak swinged it into a ground ball. Well, you're throwing 98 and you could drop a slider for a strike. Boy, making contact's a tough thing to do.
Boy, I mean, that's just old country hardball right there. Reds get a run on a couple of 2-out hits and a wild pitch and lead 1-0. AT trivia question. 9/28/08. Which pitcher ended the Reds' last streak of 180 games without starting a left-hander? A streak which they have matched here tonight.
Now, let me read that date correctly. Would that be September 28th, 1908?
No, I think that would be 2008. Legitimate question there.
Yeah.
Legitimate question.
I know they're trying to trip me up at every turn. And that would be one way of doing it.
That would do it. 2008, and that would have been before Travis Wood arrived on the scene, so you take him out of the mix.
Yeah, lefties have been tough to come by.
I remember they had left-hander Bobby Livingston around here for a while.
Yeah.
Remember, he actually pitched some pretty good ball games for the Reds.
He came over, I think, from the New York Mets.
Threw the ball well, and then he got hurt again. Ruggiano leading things off. Reds in front 1-0 here in the fourth, and it's 1-2 strikes. And Cingrani's already fanned 5 batters in the game. In fact, he has more strikeouts than the flame-throwing Jose Fernandez. Trying to take some other left-handers.
So Chris Mahalik was around, but I think that was before 2008. course, that was back in the days of Kent Mercker, but I don't think he ever started a game for the Reds. He was solely out of the bullpen at that point.
1-2 to count. And that one got away from Cingrani. 2-2. Ruggiano, the number 6 hitter, to be followed by Brantley and Donovan Solano. Ruggiano walked and was stranded at second base back in the second inning. A lot of pitches for Cingrani. Marlins have had plenty of base runnings. They have 3 base hits and he's walked a pair. Still 2 balls and 2 strikes.
Both of these pitchers, Cingrani and Fernandez, taken in the same year of the draft. First round pick was Fernandez. Third round pick out of Rice was Tony Cingrani. Well, they gave him a chance to pitch in Billings, which is the lowest level of, other than Arizona's summer league, the lowest level of rookie ball the Reds have. I mean, he went down there and just completely dominated. Pitched 51 innings and struck out 80. That was the highest number of strikeouts that league had had since Sid Fernandez.
Boy, he had good stuff.
Yeah, and interestingly enough, a lot of people have compared Cingrani to Sid Fernandez. Now, Sid was a bigger guy. Now, when Sid pitched, we had that center field camera. You couldn't see the hitter.
Wide body.
Wide body.
Indeed. I'll tell you what, when he was healthy, he had as good a stuff as anybody in the National League. You talk to hitters that had to face him. That ball's in the air to left field, and we are tied up. That's a good at bat there by Justin Ruggiani. A 1-1 game. So Ruggiano played so well for them at the end of last year, finally getting a chance. And that is his second home run and a team best 8th run batted in this season.
It was almost like he was looking for a high fastball. This is the pitch that Cingrani's got a lot of strikeouts on. Almost out of the strike zone right there. That 4-seamer coming up. And now, if you're going to hit a home run tonight, left field's probably the spot you're going to see it.
Fernandez coming over and giving him 5, giving him 10. That one bobbled, but plenty of time to take care of Brantley. 1 out in this 1-1 game here in the top of the 4th inning. Cardinals have jumped out to a 2-0 lead. That game already in the bottom of the 5th inning. Start of a 4-game series against the Philadelphia Phillies.
Well, the Phillies don't look like the same team, do they?
They really don't.
I mean, what a difference a couple of years makes. Of course, we did not see Roy Halladay in that series.
Or Cole Hamels.
Right.
Base hit center field by Solano. No, Chris, there's so much good if you get the right guys, and Lord knows they've had a great run there in Philadelphia. I mean, they won 5 straight National League Eastern Division titles before they were ravaged with so many injuries to some of their big guys. Halladay last year, you know about Ryan Howard and Chase Utley and right on down the line. But when you've got 6 or 7 guys on your team that are making over $100 million a year, there's not a lot of room to be filling in the gaps. And that outfield for the Phillies, it's hard to believe. Nice bunt there by Fernandez, advancing Solano into scoring position. Well, come on down to the Holy Grail at the Banks tomorrow night, 6 p.m. and test your Reds knowledge and maybe win some great prizes. You might end up on Reds Live after an upcoming game on Fox Sports Ohio. So stop on down to the Holy Grail at the Banks tomorrow night at 6 o'clock. We'll see you there.
We're going to show you that bunt, that sacrifice again. And Fernandez running down the line. Here's a 20-year-old that essentially walked down the line. And, you know, it may only happen once in 10 years, but it might be the one time that gets you a win. I mean, he does a nice job of getting the bunt down right here. But, I mean, once he realizes Votto's going to get it, I mean, he just puts it into, that's not even a jog. What if Votto bobbles it once? Well, if you're jogging, you still have a chance to get the runner. But if you're running hard and he bobbles it once, you may not be out at first base. And now you really got a rally going. I hate to see a young kid at 20 years old think it's okay to walk to first base.
All right, but let me ask you this. You and I are in full
maybe
agreement.
That's just because I'm a product of the Pete Rose generation of watching that guy.
I think most of the people out there agree with you. I agree with you. But let me ask you this. What's the difference between a 20-year-old doing it and a 32-year-old doing it?
Agree. None.
And you see it every night.
The 20-year-old learned from the 32-year-old when he was 31.
Probably right.
Not a lot to dislike about that kid, though, I can tell you that. Huh.
Two and the count on Coghlan, a perfect 2 for 2 in the game tonight. Here we are only in the 4th inning, and he's batting for the 3rd time. That might be the best breaking ball thrown by Cingrani so far.
Yeah, it looks like he's relaxed a little bit more. It looked like the first couple of innings for Cingrani, he was tight. Really, you know, not a loose arm. That time you have to sell that breaking ball, and you really pull it down. You get it up behind your ear, and you pull it down, and that had good break on it.
Came back with a fastball at 91, knee-high outside corner.
I got to say, that breaking ball looks a lot more like a curveball than it does a slider. Usually you tell that with how big the break is. A slider breaks less. And the speed of the pitch. A curveball is much slower, down usually in the 70s as far as miles per hour.
Runner at second, 2 out. That's a go-ahead run. And in the air down the left field line near the stands and out of play. .80 pitches on the night for Cingrani. You see 3 of the 4 innings have been 20 pitches or more. And this is his first major league start. Devin Mesoraco wanting to make sure they're on the same page before another 2-2 pitch to Coghlan.
And I think always in your first major league start, you're going to throw more pitches per inning, number one. And number two, when you're a high strikeout pitcher like Cingrani, you're also going to throw a lot of pitches.
Break even pitch. Got him swinging on the breaking ball, and that'll end the inning. 6 strikeouts for Cingrani. Ruggiano homers. We go to the bottom of the 4th, tied at 1. Again with Cohen Recycling and many of Cincinnati's leading corporations. It'll be the 4th annual PNC Players for the Planet e-waste recycling drives beginning Friday through Sunday. Visit reds.com/appearances and find out where you can donate your used electronics. Jay Bruce, Ryan Hannigan, Marty Brenneman, George Foster, among others, will be at various sites. And the first 200 cars at each event get 2 view level tickets free to a future Reds game. Good stuff. Jay Bruce jumps on a first pitch fastball and bangs it into right field ahead.
Now the 2 hardest hit balls the Reds have had have been on the first pitch. Chu got one to start the inning off in the 3rd, with 2 out in the inning in the 3rd. The first pitch he saw, and Jay Bruce, another left-hander, gets the same pitch, a low fastball on the first pitch of the at-bat. So the Reds are now looking for that first pitch fastball. They're getting a little bit. They're putting a head on it.
Well, you can read the lips over there of Greg Dobbs. He asked Jay, how about this kid? And the look Bruce had on his face, he just went, oof.
You know who ought to write a book? Billy Hatcher. And he could call it Conversations at First Base, and he could just take the best of his recollection of the comments between the runner and the first baseman. Some of them funny, some of them angry at the pitcher, angry at each other, whatever it may be. I bet there's a lot goes on down there. And you got some first basemen that won't say a word. And you got other guys like Sean Casey talking it up a storm.
Well, if he needs somebody to help him write it, the main man sitting just to our left could handle that. Our statistician here in the booth, Joe Luckham.
Talking about his recent book,
100 Things Reds Fans Should Know and Do Before They Die.
See, you thought that during my days off, when I wasn't in the broadcast booth for the last week, I just hung around and did nothing.
No, I thought you might be fishing or golfing.
I actually, in the time, part of the time I read Joel's book, and I can tell you, really great read.
You can pick those up over at the Reds Hall of Fame, and we encourage you to do so. Again, the title of the book, written by Joel Luckham, 100 Things Reds Fans Should Know and Do Before They Die.
And there's some interesting things in there that I didn't think were going to make the book that made it, that I would never have thought of. Certain pennant runs, certain players that are somewhat obscure but had great Reds feats. Of course, the great ones are in there. There's lots of talk about guys like Johnny Bench and Frank Robinson. And your dad made the top, I want to say he made the top 5, if not the top 10. And he listed it in
top
order.
10 what?
Well, the top 10, the 100 things are essentially listed in some kind of priority and order of the most important.
Gotcha.
All the way down. I think the first is the Big Red Machine. Okay. And then you kind of move off from there.
Ball 4 to Todd Frazier.
I'm wondering if he rewrites another book of this 2013 team. We don't know yet what there lies ahead in their destiny, but you never know.
Well, everybody's excited about what's happened so far in this homestand. I mean, that's for sure. Chris, you and I were not in Pittsburgh as the pitching coach for the Miami Marlins, Chuck Hernandez, will come out and visit Jose Fernandez. But look, you and I were in St. Louis. Ruined the Cardinals' home opener, did the Reds. 9 runs in that 9th inning, and then everything went straight south starting the 5th inning the next day and lasted for 48 hours. Then rolled right into Pittsburgh. Johnny Cueto goes down injured. They blow the 5-0 lead late in the game on Sunday, and everybody wondering, well, what's going on? Well, you come back here, you get the great outing by Arroyo in game 1. Of course, in game 2, you can't pitch any better than Homer Bailey did. Another 8-inning, 10 strikeout, no walk performance. And then Mike Leake yesterday to sweep the series, 7 innings, 3 hits, no runs.
The rest of the homestand on paper looks good as far as the Reds. You've got the Marlins here for 4. Of course, next week you've got the Cubs. You hope that you can do some damage, especially against the Cubs in your own division, but it gets tough when the Reds get on the road. They'll play the Washington Nationals, 4 games in D.C., and they got to go to St. Louis once again.
And then wrap it up with a 3-game set in Chicago. That'll be a 10-game road trip. 1-0 on Xavier Paul, 2 on, nobody out. And that one walloped into right field, a base hit. Stanton bobbles the ball out in right. Bruce will score. On to second goes Xavier Paul, and another first pitch base hit for the Reds, and they've recaptured the lead.
And I would imagine, and I don't know for certain, but I got to give credit anyway, probably to Brooke Jacoby, who's made an observation against Fernandez, saying, hey, this guy's leading everybody off with a first pitch fastball. Rather than sitting back trying to work the count, let's get up there and be aggressive and start hacking at him. You've seen him once, and the second time through the order has not been nearly as good for Jose Fernandez as that first time through.
That'll be a single, an RBI, and then an error charged to Giancarlo Stanton, and that one is jumped on by Mesoraco. He hits a missile into center. Tagging and scoring from third base is Frazier. How about Mesoraco now? 2 nights in a row. Couple of hits and an RBI yesterday, and another first pitch hack. And a hard hit ball to drive in a second run of the inning, third run of the game.
Yeah, it's funny, it goes down as a sacrifice fly, which sounds harmless enough, but this was a missile. I mean, he got it right on the sweet spot.
Well, the Reds have more hits, and they have scored more runs through 3 2/3 innings tonight against Jose Fernandez, and he had allowed in either of his first 2 starts. And Cingrani bunting it over the screen out of play. His major league debut in New York, 5 innings, 3 hits, 1 run. In his last start against Philadelphia, 6 innings, 2 hits, no runs. So he had allowed 1 run in 11 innings coming into tonight. On the ground. Cingrani hustling up the line. Something you brought up earlier on the other side. He nearly beat that out.
And good base running there by Xavier Paul, too. This ball is hit very softly, and as soon as Paul sees the third baseman coming in a couple of steps, Polanco's not going to be able to get back to the bag, and Cingrani boot scooting it down the line, hoping to get an infield hit there. Hey, nothing wrong with running. About the only thing you can't control in this game is effort.
Well, perhaps Fernandez learned his lesson from the last at bat, and really through this second time in the batting order. It began with Chu, who hit a first pitch fastball for a single in the left center field in the third inning, and wound up scoring on a wild pitch. He has started Chu with back-to-back breaking balls in this at bat.
And it might be the education of the catcher, Rob Brantley. Although Fernandez is from time to time shaking off his catcher.
Third straight breaking ball. Came back with a gas on a 2-1 pitch to even the count.
Well, he really uses his legs, does Jose Fernandez. If you watch his little hip turn, I mean, he really gets his his legs together, kind of gets his knee right, his left knee that is, right over the pitching rubber, and talk about driving to the plate. Man, oh man, that's where that power comes from. I mean, yes, you've got a good arm, but you've got to get your legs and your core involved, and he does it as well as any young pitcher I have ever seen. Take a look at the motion that I'm talking about. And he just looked down here in the core area right here where he's able to get his knee back. And right there, when he cocks his hip and then starts down to the plate, he lowers his foot and then drives with his right leg to the plate, keeping his hips closed as long as he can.
Another fastball hit the other way by Chu. He has his second in. He's coming to second base. Offline is a throw. And a run scoring double by Shin-Soo Chu. 5-1 Cincinnati.
I mean, did anybody expect Chu to be as good as he has been so far for the Reds? I mean, it's unbelievable. Now look at that swing right there. It's almost like he knows what's coming. He does what he wants with it, and he does it at will.
And I beg your pardon, that's 5 hits. It is a 4-1 Reds lead, and the inning continues for Zach Cozart. 1 of 2 in the game. Got a little flare into right field for a base hit, which helped lead to a run. The first Reds run in the 3rd inning. So 1 in the 3rd. The Marlins tied it in the top of the 4th. The Reds answer with a 3 spot in the bottom of the inning.
You know, one of the things that's interesting when you look at the call-up of Jose Fernandez at 20 years old, if the Marlins had waited an extra 11 days before they called him up, they would have set the free agent clock back 1 more year and have had this young man really for 7 years instead of 6 years as to become a major league free agent. Now, of course, he can be sent down essentially sometime during the year, shut down or sent down, or I mean, shut down but on the big league roster wouldn't do anything to his major league service time. Of course, you'd have to do that before the month of September. But an interesting move by the Marlins that we could have bought 1 more year of reasonable pricing, if you want to call it that, before he becomes a free agent, just by having him not be eligible the first 11 games of the year. The way it works is that there are 183 days in the major league season, and in order to be credited for 1 full season, the player has to play 100 or be active 172 games.
Another base hit, and this will plate another run for the Reds. How about this offense? So quiet on that last road trip and at different points in time to begin this year, but man, here the last 2 nights. Yesterday against Philadelphia and tonight against Jose Fernandez.
Boy, good looking stroke there from Zach Cozart. He had kind of an excuse me base hit between first and second his last time up. Hustling Chu, no play at the plate for him.
Now Votto, 4 runs home here in inning number 4. Ball 1 away, and a few bodies beginning for the first time to stir down in that Marlins bullpen. It's been a 25-pitch inning for Fernandez. John Maine, a right-hander, getting loose down in the Florida Miami bullpen.
Yeah, you think back on how Jose Fernandez has completely dominated when he was in the minor leagues. 27 starts, he went 14-2. Earned on average his whole minor league career 2.0. This might be the worst game he's ever pitched in his life.
That one getting away, and Cozart had already started to walk back to the first base bag. We've already put an innings limit on how much young Jose Fernandez is going to pitch this season. They say somewhere between 150 and 170. If he gets over the 100 innings pitched mark, he will be only the 4th pitcher since 1970 to throw 100 or more innings at 20 years old or younger. The other 3, Doc Gooden back in '84, Jeremy Bonderman in '03, and Rick Porcello with the Tigers in 2009.
You got to wonder now, if you're the Marlins, I mean, watch this kid all year long. He could be a free agent at what, age 26 or 27, when you're hitting your peak years. If he stays healthy, I mean, his delivery is that of a 10-year veteran. His control is terrific. His stuff is so live. And he would be a guy that the Marlins would probably think about trying to tie up to a long-term deal. Of course, you have the danger of doing that with a starting pitcher, never knowing what's going to happen with somebody's arm, no matter how good the delivery is.
Well, these last 2 innings, first time the pitchers have piled up 4 runs here in the 4th. And Votto, a roller about 50 feet back to the mound, and that will end the inning. But the Reds come up with 4 runs and lead as we go to the 5th, 5-1.
For Reds Live. First look at the lineups, features, and so much more. It's Reds Live pregame, and it's brought to you by Ray St. Clair Roofing. Jim Day with you down here in the Reds dugout. And last August, we first introduced you to honorary bat boy Ted Kramer. He's from White Oak. He has Down syndrome. And on that night, he was such a hit and connected so much with the players and fans by overwhelming popularity. He is back as his 2nd stint as bat boy tonight. Now, last August 17th, tell you what, it was our pleasure to really kick off a national journey for Ted. This past January, he was invited to the inauguration of President Obama. And this week, there's a national TV crew in town. They are doing a feature on Teddy, which will be upcoming on a national network. And I tell you what, his personality is so infectious. On that August 17th night, if you remember, guys, Reds offense was terrific. Tonight, terrific as well. So I vote for Teddy to be here every night.
Well, I know Teddy would love to answer the bell, and he'd be ready for it. Good for him.
Boy, no kidding. Ted terrific.
God bless him. He's a good man. He's fired up, brings a smile to virtually every player's face that plays on this Reds team and has a chance to spend even a minute or so with him. He's having a ball down there. Look at him. He's ready to roll. He's already got the balls ready for the next time the umpire calls for him. Got the helmet on. That's good stuff.
No, you're not kidding about that.
Doesn't get much better than that. One and two on Chris Valleca.
Now they got Valleca to chase a high fastball last time up, and they're teasing him up there again. He fouled one off, took that last one. Valleca getting a chance to play a little bit because of injuries to some other Marlins, including their shortstop. Valleca, if you remember, in the Red system for a long time. Went to University of California, Santa Barbara. Native of Santa Monica, California.
He's a really pleasant young man. You know, obviously no longer in the Reds organization, but we wish him nothing but the very, very best. Came on the Reds caravan with us a number of years while he was coming up through the Reds minor league system. It's good to see he caught on with the Marlins, and looks like now, as we brought up earlier, that he'll have a chance to play some. Hard hit ball, but wide of Brandon Phillips. One out here in the fifth inning. Both starting pitchers have thrown a lot of pitches in this game. Both of them up over 80 through the front four. Cingrani knocking on the door of 90 with one out here in the fifth. But again, these are young guys. They're learning their craft. For Cingrani, his first major league start. For Fernandez, as we've talked about already, only his third start above high A. And last year he started in low A, then went to high A. Cingrani, you may remember, I think some people forget last year. I know I had forgotten until I went back and looked at it earlier today. When he made the jump last season to the Reds big league club, he was not pitching in Louisville. He came from Double-A to the big leagues. So the 3 games he had for Louisville this year were his first 3 games at the Triple-A level. Swung on and missed, and Stanton gone, 7 strikeouts. So now Polanco at 7 strikeouts. Cingrani has allowed 5 base hits and a run. The only run was a solo home run by Ruggiano in the 4th. Strike 1 to Polanco, who twice tonight with 2 on and 1 out. Cingrani is retired, once on strikes and another time on a pop up to Phillips. And the fans brought their gold gloves tonight. Nice catch made the first row, the second deck. And that was a beauty right there. That fellow there in a white shirt. No sooner did Philadelphia tie the Cardinals 2-2 in the 6th. Cardinals score their very next time up. 3-2 and batting in his 7th. Grounded foul by Polanco. Granted, we're only into the third week of this baseball season, but a lot of people down on the National League Central, top to bottom as a division. Well, the Cardinals went out to San Francisco, beat the Giants 2 out of 3 earlier this year. That one's down low. The Reds have beaten the Nationals already 2 out of 3, beat the Angels 2 out of 3. The Milwaukee Brewers just swept the Giants as there's ball 4 to Polanco.
So really what they're doing in this division is beating up each other.
That's exactly once they get inside the division.
I mean,
you're right.
Inside the division.
You're right.
Now they're trying to get Tony Cingrani through this inning. Obviously, he's got a 4-run lead. He has to complete this 5th inning in order to be qualified for a major league win. So I think this is one of these talks with Brian Price where he's just trying to get Cingrani to let's get back to basics right here. Stay over the pitching rubber. Don't jump at the hitter. Don't try to get the inning over with faster than it's going to evolve anyway. You go ahead and make some good pitches, and you'll find your way out of the inning.
Sam LeCure getting loose in the Reds bullpen. What a job Brian Price has done here.
Remarkable.
I know there are a lot of very good pitching coaches around baseball, so you don't want to short sell anybody, but I got to tell you, it would be hard to imagine that there would be anybody that is serving as a pitching coach in the major leagues that would be better than Brian Price.
Well, a lot of it has to do, obviously, with his ability to communicate with the pitchers. And everybody's got a different personality, so you've got a different way to deal with each guy. But it also helps when you have some pretty good pitchers on your staff.
Sure.
And believe me, he has very good pitchers on this staff. The thing that I see about Brian Price is that the Reds have walked fewer batters with him at the helm of their pitching staff, and I think that makes a huge difference.
Such an easygoing, very personable guy. Not a big talker, doesn't talk a lot, but very bright, easy to talk to.
I think one of his biggest success stories is how he has really turned around and improve the progress of Homer Bailey. All you can do as a pitching coach is suggest things, try to do this, try to do that, and Bailey has bought into it. But I think that he's connected with Homer Bailey on a level that other pitching coaches haven't been able to do.
Well, Cingrani trying to get through 5 here. He's just passed 100 pitches in the game, and that ought to do it. They appeal. He went around, and Cingrani more than likely the final batter he'll face tonight. 8 strikeouts, 1 run allowed in 5 innings. Congratulations, Tony Cingrani.
the strikeout of Greg Dobbs by Tony Cingrani, the last hitter he'll probably face. Let's take a look at the strikes that eventually caused strike 3. Tony Cingrani to nail down strikeout number 8. Check swing by Dobbs. Yes, he went around, and that is our head and shoulders whiff of the night.
Hey, it's nice to have our friends from Procter & Gamble.
You're not kidding.
A brand new sponsor, Cincinnati's very own Procter & Gamble. And one of their many great products. And I tell you, Tony Cingrani, first major league start. Those are pretty doggone good numbers.
Boy, you're not kidding about that.
The first Red starter to strike out 8 or more batters in his first major league start since we remember Johnny Cueto did it, striking out 10 Arizona Diamondbacks. That third game of the season back in 2008. So now on the mound for the Marlins, it is right-hander John Maine, and what a journey Maine has had to get back into the major leagues, coming back from 2 major shoulder surgeries. He's only 31 years old, pitching for the first time in the major league since 2010. His wife had to talk him out of retirement. I mean, you're going back a ways, Chris. I remember you and I doing games together in that 07 season when Maine was a 15-game winner for the New York Mets, and they thought he was going to be a mainstay inside of that franchise for many, many years to come.
Must have been a pain in the neck at home for his wife to finally take control and say, hey, get back to work. I'm tired of you around here.
Probably right.
There's only so much grass you can cut.
In there is strike. So 4 innings, 6 hits, 5 runs. Given up by Jose Fernandez. Well, we know he's got a chance to be a mighty good one down the road. So too is Mr. Cingrani. And there's a base hit into center field by Brandon Phillips to open up the 5th. Brandon 1 out of 3 in a game, and now Jay Bruce. He started the 4-run rally with a single leading off the 4th and scored the first of those 4 runs. Brandon without a stolen base attempt so far this year. Two 2-0 to Jay. Well, if the Reds bullpen can nail this thing down, Reds would go to 2 games over the 500 mark. And you only bring it up, we have such a long way to go in this one. When you look down and you look at the offensive contributions from Bruce and Votto. We talked about all the times on base Votto's gotten on base, but I think if anybody would have walked up to you and said, hey, look, you're going to play the first 2.5, 3 weeks of the year. Up until yesterday, actually up until this homestand began, You know, Bruce was sitting on 5 RBIs and Votto is sitting on 3. Bruce is not homered and Votto has 1. I think if somebody would have said, hey, you're going to go through 3 weeks of a year and you're going to have 1 home run, and at the time 8 runs batted in from your 2 big left-handed sluggers in a lineup, I think a lot of people would say you're probably not going to be 2 games over 500.
Well, that's the value of starting pitching, and of course for the most part an airtight bullpen. But Brandon Phillips, as you noted earlier, has been hot, leading the National League, or up there with what, 19 run batted, 19 RBIs.
Major League League, yeah. There's a walk to Jay Bruce.
I mean, when you put your roster together and you start paying the players, you do have high expectations for the guys you pay the most money to. But it's a team sport. Everybody has a chance when they get to the plate to do some damage with the bat. And I think when it all is cooked over the entire course of the season, you're going to see those guys that have done it in the past are going to end up having done it again this year.
Frazier, first pitch swing, comes up empty. 0-1 to Todd Frazier. Base hit left field. They will hold Phillips at third, and the Reds have him loaded.
Yeah, they had a first pitch fastball thrown right by him by John Maine, and then Maine tried to slip a little slider on him and just kind of spun up there and held his place, and that was a good solid swing by Frazier. Reds are, that's a slider that almost went backwards on him.
Found out a play by Xavier Paul. He had a big hit to drive in the first run of that 4-run fourth inning with a single in the right field. Reds have him loaded with nobody out. Once more, foul out of play. Inning began with a single by Phillips, a walk to Bruce, a single by Frazier. We are only in the bottom of the 5th inning. And the Reds already with 5 runs and 8 hits and looking for more of both. Look at Paul choking up on that back. This will be the first out of the inning.
And there's an infield fly. Now let's take a look at this at bat from John Maine to Xavier Paul. Armasa pitch by pitch tonight. Keeping the fastball on him after giving up a slider base hit to Todd Frazier. Maine decides to go with a fastball, another foul ball there. Now they count 1-2, and finally another fastball in on the hands, and he gets a harmless infield fly for the first out of the inning. Armasa pitch by pitch.
In the dirt, gets away from the catcher Brantley, and racing in to score is Brandon Phillips. That'll be a wild pitch. And the Reds extend their lead out now to 6-1. Second run they scored the game on a wild pitch. Bless you there, Mr. Welsh. You got allergies here tonight?
Oh, I've got allergies. The harder the wind blows, the more I sneeze. And maybe that wind had something to do with that breaking ball in the dirt. Second time the Reds have scored on a wild pitch. You know, when you're scoring and you're making the difference between an earned and an unearned run, a wild pitch is an earned run. And a pass ball, because it's essentially an error on the catcher, would make it an unearned run.
Well, now Mesoraco will be intentionally walked, and will load the bases. Mesoraco with a run batted in tonight. Chris Heisey going to come up there and bat with the bases loaded and 1 out in the inning.
Well, when you said that his wife talked John Maine out of being a retiree, it wasn't like he was sitting around for the last couple of years doing nothing. He was still pitching baseball, just not since 2010 in the major leagues. Last year he pitched in the minor leagues with the AAA franchise of the New York Yankees. In 2011 he was with Colorado in their minor league up down at Colorado Springs. I should say up in Colorado Springs.
Heisey pops it up into short right field, and that will fall in front of Stanton. Bruce scores. Here comes the trail runner Frazier. He slides. He's safe. And alertly going all the way first to third is Mesoraco. A pinch hit, 2-run bloop single into right field by Heisey. And the Reds are busting this thing wide open. They now lead 8-1.
It looked like Donovan Solano and Giancarlo Stanton kind of got mixed up on this. I mean, look, I guess that Solano pulled back because he thought that maybe Stan was going to get to it. But Stan looks very stiff out there. Good arm he shows too late, but he mishandled the ball earlier in the ball game. Now you're beginning to see why the Marlins are 3-12.
Swing and a miss. That'll be a single and then a second error charged to Stanton. So only 1 RBI on the play credited to Heisey, even though 2 runs scored. It's a second error in the game charged to Stanton. We brought up earlier now, I mean, he's been hurting, but it's the shoulder that's bothered him. No leg problems. Came back from that knee surgery last year. Found out a play by Chu, has 2 hits, scored twice, knocked in a run. Runner takes off for second base. And Chu reaches on a walk. That is a 3rd walk of the inning given up by John Maine. And once more, a slow walk to the mound by the Marlins pitching coach Chuck Hernandez. Well, after every Reds game, including tonight, Fox Sports Ohio will break it all down with interviews from players, the manager Dusty Baker, Chris Welsh around as well for Reds Live. Brought to you by King's Honda and the King's Auto Mall. Reds Live. Visit KingsHondaUSA.com.
That mean by implication that you will not join us?
Oh, no, you know I'll be there.
Okay.
You know I'll be there. One thing we've learned in a short amount of time, I've always got your back.
You know what? And you are always there. You're right about that. Wherever that may be.
Taken outside is Zach Cozart, ball one. Pitch number 30 in this inning for Mr. Maine, and he's only retired one. Falling behind now, Cozart with the bases loaded, 2-0. Fastball taken right down the can by Cozart. Ball four, walks in a run. Mesoraco getting high fives all around. 1 in the third, 4 in the fourth, 4 and still batting here in the fifth. And now Votto 0 for 1 has walked twice. Joey, the 9th man to bat so far in this inning. Votto, you may remember, was the only player in the Reds lineup, including the pitcher, that did not have a hit in the game yesterday. And right now, he and Devin Mesoraco would be the only two, although Mesoraco does have an RBI and Joey does have 2 walks. Double play ball here, and this will end the inning. But the Reds get 4. We go to the 6th. The Reds are rolling 9-1. brought to you by Toyota. See your Toyota dealer. Visit buyatoyota.com. Toyota, let's go places. And by JTM Food Group, let's create great dishes together. We've given you a long time to think about this, and Lord knows Chris and I did not help you a little bit on the AT&T trivia question for tonight. 9/28/08. 180 games had gone consecutively. A right-hander starting for the Reds. Who was the left-hander that broke that streak that night?
He had one start as a Red.
Wow.
And I would have been here all night guessing names and never come up with Adam Pettijohn. It had been 7 years between starts with Pettijohn. He made his major league debut with the Detroit Tigers in 2001. Then the Reds called him up for 3 games in 2008. He started one of those. And overall, his 3 games total. He pitched 4 innings. But he was a left-hander, and he broke that streak.
I heard our buddy Lance McAllister talking earlier today on his radio show.
About Adam Pettijohn?
No. You know the last left-handed pitcher for the Reds to throw a complete game as Sam LeCure comes on?
Dontrelle Willis?
No. 2001, if I heard Lance McAllister correctly earlier today. And his first name is Lance. Chris Heisey stays in the game to play
Lance
left.
Davis.
That's right.
Wasn't it Lance Davis that kind of shortened his career by going home and shooting a shotgun or target practice all winter, and then he hurt his shoulder, and he came back the next spring, he couldn't pitch?
I think that's right. I think you're right. I was not working here then, but I think you're right on that story. Breaking ball in there, strike. Sam LeCure. Well, this guy has been so rock solid for the Reds. Every role imaginable, they've asked him to do it. Spot start. Long relief. 6th inning guy, 7th inning guy, 8th inning guy. Use him in the 9th inning. Use him anytime. You know, isn't it always interesting, Christian? You and I started to touch on this before about LeCure and his role on this team and how frequently, more and more so in this age of specialization in Major League Baseball, how guys want to know what their role is. Are they the 7th inning guy? Are they the left-handed setup guy? Or are they the guy that comes in to get the left-handed batter out, maybe in the 6th if you got to go that route? Are they the 8th inning guy from the right side? Who's a closer? And oftentimes, not only the pitchers in the bullpen, but the managers have become so specialized themselves in when they use certain guys. And we saw this during the Reds' 5-game losing streak where, the Reds were behind a number of games or either ahead in a number of games. And so Jonathan Broxton and Aroldis Chapman weren't used for a week. And then all of a sudden we know about the problem that Broxton had in Pittsburgh on Sunday. He had not pitched in nearly 7 days. The point I'm getting at ultimately here is, how is it though that let's use Dusty Baker as an example, that you can be sort of flexible with Sam LeCure, yet you tend to not let yourself be all that flexible with a number of other guys down there?
I think you see a guy like Sam LeCure really feeds on this. It's interesting that managers want a bench player at least, maybe 2, that can play all different positions. So that gives them a lot of options, but you really don't hear that very often about pitchers. Well, Sam LeCure really began to prosper as a pitcher, in my opinion, when they got him out of it as a starter and they put him in a bullpen but didn't really tell him when he was going to pitch. And he has become, in my opinion, the best reliever in the league that you've never heard of. Because outside of Cincinnati, he doesn't make very many headlines. But right here in Cincinnati, he is Mr. Dependable. That's a nasty curveball right there.
And I don't want anybody to think that I'm sitting here saying that the Dusty Baker is completely inflexible when it comes to everybody else. That's not the point, because Dusty acknowledged the other day when we brought up on the air, you weren't with us, Cowboy was in the game the other night in the booth, and when Chase Utley came up as a pinch hitter and wondering, why not Chapman for one out here in the 8th inning. Not only the left-handed batting Utley, but left-handers lined up behind him. And Dusty Baker said, look, if it's later in the season and we really needed to have, that particular game that night, maybe we're pushing for a pennant in, August, September, well, you better believe I'm bringing in Chapman. So, at least he's letting everybody know out there that wondered about it, and I was one of those that wondered about it.
I mean, he's thinking about it, obviously, and made a decision, and I think that he does the same thing that a lot of managers do nowadays, that they have it planned out ahead of time, that if they're in the lead, they're going to bring the 8th inning guy in, then they're going to bring your closer in. And we're very rarely, unless a closer hasn't pitched for a long time, do you see him come in to get an inning of work just to get work. You hope that doesn't happen. But you can also make the argument that, well, isn't a game or a win in April the same as a win in September? Except that, you may be a little bit more under pressure in September when you need that win, and then you take more drastic measures, which has come out of your normal plan. All managers are a little different when it comes to that. I think that Dusty Baker understands his personnel, and he knows how those guys like to be treated and talked to and used, and Sam LeCure gives him an option to just use them anywhere.
Back-to-back strikeouts, and once more getting the batter on that breaking ball. That's 10 strikeouts for Reds pitching through 5 2/3.
Do they still have the promotion here at Great American Ballpark when Reds pitchers strike out 11?
Yeah, you get a
pizza. The fans get a pizza?
Yeah, you nothing wrong with that.
Oh. Think we could look around for a couple of ticket stubs?
Yeah.
All they need is one more.
Send our producer Josh Hall out to hunt around for him a little bit. I mean, he's Mr. Everything around here.
He is. Well, he's capable.
He is very capable. He's on his game here in year number 2 as the producer of Reds baseball. Brian Hunterman, our director tonight. And the same very tired cast of characters here in the booth once more in 2013. There's a breaking ball away. Talking about our statistician Joe Luckham, Jesse Jackson, Dickie Moss, and Jim Strickland. Tired.
At least they're consistent.
They're good people. Fouled out of play. We love them. They know I'm kidding. Two to count on Solano, and LeCure try to get him to chase that breaking ball. Sam, one of the Reds players who lived here in Greater Cincinnati during the offseason. Came down here, worked out every single day, working with the training staff, strength and conditioning coaches. He's a fun guy to be around.
Well, you can best describe Sam by saying, he's one of these guys that he doesn't really care which way the river flows.
That's right.
And I think that attitude helps him in tight situations because he doesn't feel the pressure. If he does feel it, he doesn't show it.
In the air down the right field line, and Bruce, did he catch that ball? He did.
Wow.
How about that play by Jay Bruce, crossing into foul ground, very little of it down that right field line. Reds will bat in the bottom of the 6th. leading big. In the game, it's Miller time, brought to you by Miller Lite. And Chris, this was a good sign. Apparently this was a good bullpen session for the disabled left-hander Sean Marshall.
Yeah, Marshall's down there getting some action, and you can see him just trying to repeat his delivery. But the good news is his shoulder feels good. That's what landed him on the disabled list. Some tendonitis and fatigue in his shoulder. And he said he felt very good, really encouraged by it. He's going to throw again probably on Saturday. So once you start repeating that every other day, as relievers should, he'll be on schedule to get right back into action.
Reds miss him.
Well, he's only pitched one inning all year long. One game, one inning. And he's not really had a history of being injured before. I mean, you got to go back to 2006 when he was previously on the disabled list, and that was with a strained oblique muscle as a member of the Chicago Cubs. So he's been usually very dependable. Hopefully when he gets past this shoulder problem, he'll never look back at it.
Two and two to count. Maine still out there. Swing and a miss, and that's out number one.
A swing and a miss by Brandon Phillips right there, but you wonder if earlier in the at bat he may not have injured himself. Here's a swing and a miss we saw earlier. Watch him afterwards. He'll take his hand off the bat and then he'll kind of feel a ribcage muscle right there. I hope that is not a precursor for any kind of an injury.
Well, you're not kidding. The way he's been going.
Taking his shoulder off a little bit. I'll tell you what, Brandon Phillips plays nicked up. There are some guys that you get a nick or a bruise or a soreness and you're out of the lineup. Phillips played, he played 5 weeks one time with a broken finger and didn't want to tell anybody about it.
That's right.
I mean, this guy's a gamer.
And Bruce draws a walk. Third straight inning, in fact, Jay Bruce has reached base. 2 walks, a hit, has scored a couple of runs. For Maine, that is 5 walks in an inning and a third, and only one of those walks unintentional pass.
Yeah, you do not expect that out of a 32-year-old veteran. Actually only 31. It won't be 32 until for a couple more weeks. Still, you've been around that long, and if nothing else, you should be able to come in with those strikes.
Out on a play by Frazier. That ball clubbed into straightaway center field, hit a ton, and that one will fly out of here. Todd Frazier, a 2-run home run. And the hits and the runs just keep on coming. Back-to-back days, and look at Teddy. Teddy's excited there with Todd Frazier. He's more excited than Todd is. Oh, look at that. Nice. That's great. You don't think Teddy's a Reds fan, do you?
Oh.
Getting a big hug there from Frazier. I mean, that's as good as it gets right there. Oh, man. Nissan Drive, you just saw it.
A laser beam of a home run, dead El Centro at the front door. Runs 10 and 11, and how about that greeting at home he gets from Teddy?
That's what I'm talking about. Yeah. So Frazier now with 5 home runs on the year. Give him a couple of more runs batted in, 14 of those, and looks like he's got the president of the Todd Frazier fan club. Even when a guy makes an out, he's over there to try and cheer him up. You know, for anybody who's ever either had a child with Down syndrome or spent, whether it's a family member or a friend, Paul Daugherty has written frequently about his daughter. And it's not to say that every child and those afflicted with different, whatever word you choose to use, but you know, I remember our wedding when Polly and I got married back in 2000. We had come to know a little girl who was the daughter of longtime Giants broadcaster and Yankees broadcaster Hank Greenwald, a little girl named Kelly Greenwald. And well, now Kelly Greenwald's about 35 years old. But the joy of just being around that child, and so frequently I think many would say the same about being around a child who may have Down syndrome. It is just it's an unbridled joy that you rarely see from any other person you meet in your life. And Kelly Greenwald was the main speaker at our wedding that night. And I can promise you, there was never a speaker anywhere that had an audience more captivated than Kelly Greenwald did at our wedding. I mean, Teddy down there, all he wants is something good to happen to everybody he meets every day.
Yep. And when he meets them, something good has already happened.
That's right. Well put. There's strike 3 called. You want to see the look of joy. It's one thing for a guy to hit a home run in a major league game, but when you get that kind of reception, oh man. Kentucky Honda dealers. Right now, here's your Honda game summary. Xavier Paul, a base hit, driving in the first of what would be a 4-run fourth inning to break a 1-1 tie. Chu later in the inning for the double down the left field line. Cozart knocked in a run. Reds got 4 more runs in the 5th and tack on 2 more in the 6th. Thanks to this long home run to straightaway center field by Todd Frazier. But barring a miracle comeback, the story will be in his first major league start, a victory for Tony Cingrani.
Well, it was the Johnny Cueto day to pitch. Cingrani came up to pitch for Cueto on his own, the disabled list, and he gave the Reds what Cueto normally gives the Reds. A few innings short, that is, but 5 innings of 1-run baseball. He struck out 8. What a great major league starting debut for Tony Cingrani. And a lot to build on. Now J.J. Hoover comes in for the 7th. And that's Austin Kearns. Good to see Austin up and around and back on the active roster to be able to play. Hospitalized a few days ago with an irregular heartbeat. Spent the night in the hospital. His teammates came by to see him, but he's back on the field now. Good to see that happen.
And Hoover sets down Kearns to begin the 7th inning. Don't you think that J.J. needs a little confidence back, Chris?
Yeah,
he's had some bad luck. He's also been hit hard at times and already has 3 losses so far out of the Reds bullpen.
Well, I think that, yeah, anytime you get 3 losses early as a reliever, I mean, you can get 3 wins as easily as you can get 3 losses out of the bullpen. But he got beat up a little bit. I think he was used more often than I think he was ready early in the year. And he came out there and his stuff wasn't up to par. You got to remember, he's still a young pitcher. Not been around very long. Last year was really his rookie year. You make those mistakes early in the year, and you hope that you don't repeat them. You learn from them and move on. He's got a great attitude. I'll tell you, sitting down there with guys with great attitudes too, like Sam LeCure and Broxton. Broxton had a rough spot. You know, relievers have to, they're the kind of guys on a team that have to have the shortest memories of all. Because if you go out and have an 0 for 4 night, big deal. You get back out there, you didn't lose the game because you went 0 for 4. But if you're a reliever and you come into a ball game and it's a tight game and you walk a guy and give up a home run, you know, you walk out of the clubhouse thinking, I lost the game tonight for my team. And as soon as you leave the clubhouse or get home or whenever, before you go there the next day, it has to be a completely blank sheet of paper again, that you can't remember what happened yesterday. And the best relievers that I was ever around, guys like Johnny Franco, Jeff Reardon, Goose Gossage, they couldn't remember yesterday. All it was, they were in the present. And that's a tough thing for some people to do.
I would imagine it's a tough thing. Well, the guys you just mentioned, I mean, you're talking about 3 of the all-time greats. You could make an argument for every one of those guys being in the Hall of Fame. Yeah. Goose Gossage already is, and Franco and Reardon had Hall of Fame careers. So now J.J. trying to get through a perfect 7th inning. Reds on their way, it certainly would appear, to their 4th consecutive victory. Of course, right on the heels of a 5-game losing streak. Cardinals are winning their game 4-3 over Philly in the bottom of the 9th inning. Strike 3 called on a breaking ball from Hoover. So J.J. with a 1-2-3 7th. We stand and stretch. Reds leading the Marlins big in the Queen City tonight. Source for live baseball everywhere you go. Text at bat ATBAT to 31826 or visit Reds.com for details. Again, that is 31826. Reds in front 11-1. Big John Roush takes over on the mound for Miami.
Now Boy, when you say Big John Roush, you're not kidding around either. 6 feet 11 inches tall. Born in Louisville. White Sox got him in 1999, third round out of Morehead State.
Roush just in there to get a little work in. Marlins obviously have not had many situations so far this year to use Roush in the role they envision him playing as an 8th inning setup guy. When you're ahead, so obviously.
When you're a closer or a setup guy, normally being used only in those games in which a team is leading, game tight enough for you to set up for the closer, and your team is 3-12. You know, you've got 2 of the higher paid bullpen guys down there who don't get any work.
That's right.
And it's really one way that a lot of people, if you're looking through the stats and you say, all right, I don't know much about this team, let's see who the best pitchers are. And if you just look at the games in which those pitchers pitch, do you pitch in games in which your teams are winning, or do you pitch in games in which your teams are losing? And that's really the way you can tell immediately how the manager feels about you. Are you getting in a game where you get a W at the end of the night, or are you getting in a game where you're eating up innings as a blowout? Now, both guys are important, but some more important than others.
Shin-Soo Choo has been on base each of his last 3 times. This one popped up into left field over near the line. Cotwood for out number 2.
Roush has had some pretty good years. He had 21 saves a few years ago for the Minnesota Twins.
That's when Joe Nathan got hurt that year.
That was in 2010. In 2011 he was with the Blue Jays. He saved 11 that year. We saw him a lot in the mid-2000s with the Nationals. Been a couple of years with the Diamondbacks. Broke in originally with the White Sox in 2002.
Zach Cozart, the batter. 2 hits and a walk, 2 runs batted in tonight for Cozart. Talked about him before the game last night. Of course, he had the single to begin the game-winning rally. In the suspended game, scored the winning run, and then came out in the nightcap, had 3 hits, scored 3 runs, hit a 2-run home run. So for Cozart, he has now scored a run in each of the last 8 games. I beg your pardon, he's not scored a run tonight. Been on base 3 times, but has not scored. With the 2 hits tonight now, 11 for his last 25. And that will end the inning. So a lot of the Reds getting fat here tonight, and yesterday for that matter. Big night at the ballpark. Reds have scored at least 11 runs in consecutive games for the first time since May the 28th and the 29th of 2010. When they did that here at Great American Ballpark in back-to-back routes of the Astros. And now taking over on the mound with the Reds in front 11-1. Alfredo Simon.
Yeah, 6th game for Simon. The Reds have pitched well tonight. Tony Cingrani in his major league starting debut, 5 innings of 1-run baseball, and Sam LeCure and J.J. Hoover come in and pitch a couple of perfect innings. And now Simon.
Giancarlo Stanton, Placido Polanco, and Greg Dobbs due up here in the Marlins 8th inning. Stanton a single, a walk, and a strikeout, and has made 2 errors in right field. Tony Cingrani is in line for his first major league win here tonight. Got a chance to pitch in 3 games, all out of the Reds bullpen last year after he made the jump from Double-A Pensacola. Pitched 5 innings, allowed 4 hits and a run. That was in 3 games last year. 5 innings, 5 hits, a run, 8 strikeouts tonight. Stanton gone swinging. Oh yeah.
Yeah, that did not look like a real good at bat for Mike Stanton. Of course, that's a nasty slider. As soon as he puts his foot down, and he doesn't even have a long enough bat to cover that on the outer part of the plate. But you got to put yourself in. It's a pretty good slow motion replay. Thank you to Munchin's Furniture. But if you put yourself into position of some of these Marlin hitters, I mean, if you're down consistently 5-1, 6-1, whatever it is at the end of the night, and you come up there the last 3 innings and you're down by 9, and all you're trying to tell yourself is, let's give a good quality bat up there. Let's really battle that guy. It's hard to get that done when you're on a ball club that has been beaten around so much early in the year like this. I'm not so sure it's going to get a whole lot better. It really takes a lot of personal resolve every at bat to give it everything you got. It's a whole lot easier when your ball club's winning and other guys are depending on you. But if you go up here in this 8th inning and they go through 1, 2, 3, no one's going to remember that. But if you're in a 1-run game in a pennant hunt, it's a different story.
That's why you get into the debate. There's a fly ball to right. You know, Chris, I used to get into this debate all the time with the late great, my dear friend Ron Santo. God rest his soul. You know, we would talk all the time because we were announcing some bad Cub teams, and Ronnie played on some very good Cub teams. They never won the division, but I mean, they were right there, and everybody remembers, or a lot of people remember, what happened in 1969 when the Mets caught them and won the National League Eastern Division title. But you know, you get into the debate at the end of the day, is it harder to play for a good team or a bad team? And the natural reaction is to say, well, it's got to be harder to play for a bad team for all the reasons you just gave. There's a comebacker to the mound. But what about the pressure of playing for a good team? We'll talk more about that when we come back. Fan Express to Reds country. Call the Reds Group Sales at 513-765-7600 or log on to reds.com/fanexpress to sign up. We remind you now, it's already all booked up later in the year. It's only available April and May. So get on the horn ASAP and make it happen. Reds Live comes your way. The post-game version brought to you by King's Honda, the King's Auto Mall. Reds Live. Visit KingsHondaUSA.com. Tell you, Reds Live, the pregame show version has not been quite the same without the checklist here the last 3 days. Strike one to Joey Votto. Reds bat in the bottom of the 8th inning, leading 11-1. For those of you that haven't seen it regularly, Chris's checklist. I mean, that is a staple of Reds Live, the pregame show version, once we get rolling in the summertime.
I know the guys on the set, down in the condominium, Jim and Pick have been bantering for a long time to break into some new territory. Tom's Tidbits is what they've coined, and I imagine it won't be too long until we see one of those. I know that the fans have demanded it. You can't keep everybody waiting forever. I'll work with you on some topics.
Brother, I need all the help I can get.
New pitcher is A.J. Ramos.
Thank you. That one fisted into left field. A base hit by Votto. His first hit tonight. But it's the third time he's been on base.
Got right in on his hands at Ramos with that one, and Votto just kind of muscled it out in the left field. Ramos, second-year player in the major leagues. He came up in September last year for a cup of coffee out of Texas Tech. Young man from Lubbock, Texas. Interesting debut that Ramos had when he made his major league debut last year in September for the Marlins. He pitched against the Milwaukee Brewers, and he struck out the side. And it wasn't just the stiffs down at the bottom of the order. He went right through the meat of the order. Ricky Weeks, Ryan Braun, Aramis Ramirez, back-to-back-to-back punch-outs.
Well, I mean, you look at the opponent's batting average against. I mean, that's the one thing, and we talk about it all the time, how especially early in the year, but really even later in the year. Now, not as much later in the year as early in the year, but you see a reliever come into a game and you look at their ERA. I mean, they can have 5 great games and they can have 1 bad game, and all of a sudden that earned run average sitting at about 7.5 or 8. You start diving in some of the other numbers, Chris, that I know you are very keenly aware of, and you start talking about opponents' batting average against, inherited runners that score, strikeout to walk ratio. You get a pretty good idea about the stuff a guy has.
Yeah. And a lot of teams will use those numbers. I mean, people ask, well, what are sabermetrics and what are the numbers that they use and how do they use them and so on. Well, those numbers that they use, even out of minor leagues, they'll extrapolate those and try to project what a minor leaguer will be based on what those numbers are, what the batting average against is, how many strikeouts you have for 9 innings and so on. Those are indicators that, will separate sometimes a mediocre player from a very good player.
Derek Robinson batting for Jay Bruce. Derek got the start yesterday. He was on base 3 times in the game last night. Had a hit and 2 walks. Broken bat. Had his first major league run batted in. Did a good job yesterday starting for Shin-Soo Choo. What's a number, though, Chris, you look at? I mean, because, you are familiar with some of the sabermetrics numbers. If you were to sit down and pick 2 things you're looking at for a reliever, would it be those 2 you just mentioned?
Well, I would think that batting average against and strikeouts are probably 2 that would come to mind. But, that may be selling short a guy who's just a ground ball pitcher. and can be a reliever. But I think what's happened in baseball over the last decade or so is that you've created a whole new slot for pitchers, which is a middle reliever that comes in and throws as hard as he can for 1 inning, and then you bring the next guy in who throws a little bit harder, and then as you progressively get deeper into the game, by the time you get to the 9th inning, you've got guys with strikeout stuff, because the fewer times you make contact, the fewer chances of a home run and a better chance of closing a game out. Another one call. And another way to look at it is also the whip stat, which is the walks plus the hits divided by your innings pitched.
Yep.
And it's shortened to be whipped.
I tell you, the one for me though that it's starting to get a little more and more, momentum behind it. I really pay close attention to that inherited runners allowed number. Because there are a lot of guys that come in, and you might look over the course of a year, and they might be big strikeout pitchers. They might be guys that don't walk a lot of batters. There's a base hit into right field by Frazier, or by, I beg your pardon, this Turris batting for Todd Frazier. So everybody getting in on the act here tonight. But just like you and I've talked about many times before, this is just good old baseball talk here. I've never believed for a second the theory that is laid out there that runners with scoring position, hitters, it's just luck. I don't buy it. I never will buy it. And everybody's entitled to their opinion. Nor do I believe it is luck that pitchers come in with other people's runners on base, and a huge percentage of the time those guys don't score runs of those inherited runners.
Well, I think the batting average against for starting pitchers with runners on versus not on, I think that's an important stat. But when you talk about inherited runners, the problem with that stat, as far as I see it, is that there's no way to quantify. Did a guy come in with the bases loaded and 1 out, nobody out? Was there only a man on third? I mean, all those count as runners stranded or not stranded, but there are no circumstances to go along, so it's harder to get a good picture.
Hanahan a roll out. This is called filling time at Talking Baseball. We go to the 9th, mercifully for many of you. .48 offer of the year presented by Buffalo Wild Wings. It's this entire weekend against the Marlins. $48. You get 4 view-level seats, great seats. You get a voucher for 4 orders of boneless wings, thanks to our friends from Buffalo Wild Wings. 4 for $48 the entire weekend. 381 Reds, or visit select Kroger locations. Of course, you can always log on to Reds.com/tickets. Jonathan Broxton trying to get the final 3 outs and give Tony Cingrani his first major league win. course, Broxton had the blow up. Matched the worst outing of his major league career last Sunday, and he had not pitched in nearly a week. Was not sharp at all, and now trying to get back out there on the hump and get a solid inning under his belt, because this guy has been mighty good since becoming a Red.
Yeah, and he'll never use that as an excuse, him not being sharp, a week between outings and so on. But I mean, for him to give up 2 home runs in 1 inning, that's unheard of.
It's only happened. That was the second time it ever happened in his major league career. The other time is when he was with the Dodgers against the Arizona Diamondbacks. That's been a long time ago.
And that last outing was the last time he's been in a ball game. Or the outing we're talking about anyway.
Yep, that was Sunday.
Walked 3, gave up 3 hits, 2 bombs.
Shot into right field, a base hit by Ruggiano. He has been by far the best Marlins offensive player tonight. Accounted for their only run with a home run back in the 4th inning. That's his 2nd hit. He's been on base 3 times. So Ruggiano aboard to begin the 9th inning.
He's shown a quick bat. He really turned on that high fastball from Cingrani back in the 4th inning. Also had a nice swing there to drive that ball to right field. He may be moving up in the batter's order from 6th to a little higher. He keeps that up.
St. Louis held off Philadelphia 4-3 the final there. Atlanta batting in the top of the 9th inning in Pittsburgh with a 6-4 lead over the Pirates. Told you Milwaukee swept the Giants in a 3-game series. That one wrapped up earlier this afternoon, 7-2. Cubbies avoided getting swept by Texas, beating the Rangers 6-2. Now back out of play. Hey, that Ranger team, they might have lost a lot of guys, and especially over the last 2 years. They're still pretty good.
Yeah, they are. You went over and did a game down there in Texas already, did you not, in Arlington?
I did. That was the only game that they lost in that 3-game weekend series over the Angels. Tell you, I saw something in that game. Now put this into perspective, all right? We talk about Joey Votto getting walked all the time. Is Turris for 1, relay throw to first, and the Marlins are down to their final out. Now think about this for a minute, okay? Josh Hamilton came into town, right? After spending the last 5 years with the Texas Rangers. In 5 years with the Rangers, only 4 times in 5 years was the batter intentionally walked in front of Josh Hamilton to face Josh Hamilton. The game I did last Saturday, the Rangers walked the guy in front of Josh Hamilton 3 times in 1 game and got him out all 3 times.
Now you mentioned having I've been out there. We've both seen games out there, but that ballpark makes Great American Ballpark look big.
Man, we're going there later this summer.
I mean, it really flies out.
And when it heats up, brother. I mean, there's a jet stream shooting out there into right and right center field. You get that ball in the air, and you could be there a long time on any given day.
Well, you don't want to be here much longer. This is the guy the Reds have been looking for all night long.
Two and one. So the big story, Tony Cingrani. He's about to enjoy one of the best nights, if not the single best night of his professional career. This would be his first major league win, and he can start celebrating right now on the line drive to right. Congratulations to Tony Cingrani. Makes his first major league start here tonight. 5 innings, 5 hits, a run, strikes out 8. The offense more than enough behind that effort. 11-1, the Reds win it over the Florida Marlins.